press record here, and I've already recorded the intro and the outro. I'm sure you're going to be impressed with it later on when you see it.
I'm looking forward to seeing what your team put together.
Excellent, excellent.
See, I'm going to see if I can make if this is going to be video, I'll make this symmetrical. Like
Sure.
have that frame right in the back. Okay. Ready when you are.
I'm ready.
Calvin Wayman. When I saw Calvin for the first time on Facebook, I said to myself, man, this is Gary Vee meets John Lee Dumas. Well, I continued to follow him and realized he is as enthusiastic as he is real. The guy over time dropped a lot of weight and piled up a good following only because he's genuinely entertaining and superbly consistent. And for those of you who study success like I do, these, ladies and gentlemen, are the ingredients to making it big. They say what separates an amateur from a pro is his consistency, and Calvin is now a pro, and his social media consulting is beautifully crafted into a service that he offers his clients and is recommended by top names, and that does not come easy. With the promise to give away a car to his followers who take part in his contest, he is surely telling us that he is here to stay and level up his game as time goes by. A very happy personality and always armed with a smile. Ladies and gentlemen, Internet Mogul Calvin Wayman in the house.
Thank you so much for joining the Internet Mogul Show. How are you doing today?
Avi, doing super well. Thank you so much for having me.
You know what? I'd like to start with your story. I have a short story in my head. We haven't really understood who you are, where your story is coming from, except your posts and all of that. But I remember I've been following your journey. I remember meeting you very briefly, and then I've seen your transformation, physically, which also tells me that it's come. Obviously, something has happened in your mind.
Totally.
That has absolutely asked you. Something has put you on fire, man. And
yeah.
I know, and I can almost make a prediction. I don't like to make predictions on my show, but I can almost make a prediction. It's almost like betting on the stock market that you are going to be somebody very big very soon. You're making all the right noises. You're making all the right noises. You're doing the right rituals and all of that. And I thought we should pick your brain for others to get inspired.
Well, you've been in the game for a little bit, so for you saying that means a lot to me. I appreciate that.
Thank you, man. Thank you for everything that you're doing. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your story, how you started.
Sure.
Everything.
Well, it's a great question to see, like, where did it begin? Like where it got serious, where you mentioned like getting on fire was probably when I quit my day job. Mm-hmm. But something that I don't talk about a ton that I think also helped with like the entrepreneurial drive I have is I was homeschooled my entire life, like all the way up through high school. And so I wasn't really into like the system telling me exactly what to do. And so I very much want to do it my own way. And so that kind of like boiled over, I think, when I was around 27, which is just about 3 years ago, where I wanted to, for a long time, go out and create my own business, do my own thing. But just like most of us, I was fearful. I mean, and I had practical things that that was fear, but I called it practical. Like I have a wife, I had a 1-year-old at the time, and I had all these bills, credit card debt and student loans and all that. And so I was like, but I can't do it. But there actually was a moment. So this shows me that I think that you're in the game because you go through the same thing, but because you got that right. But there was a moment that got me on fire. And the moment was actually around this time of year. A new year comes around, and what do? We set New Year's resolutions, right? But we also reflect back on the year previous and see what it is that we have accomplished or not accomplished, right?
Sure.
And so year after year, I was fucking sick of that answer because I had nothing to show for it. And I wasn't getting any younger. I was now 27, so 30 was knocking on my door, right? And so I was like, how long is this going to last? And I'm not getting anywhere, right? And so the scary thought that put me on fire is I projected myself 10 years in the future. Mm-hmm. And I basically had a conversation with my 10-year older self.
Wow.
And I had the conversation was like, hey, 10-year-older Calvin, 37-year-old Calvin, what should I do here?
Right.
And what I realized is I was going to be getting more responsibility, not less. So if I ever was going to do something risky, why not do it now?
Right.
Because I don't want to get to the point where I'm 97 or even 47
Sure.
and realize there's not an effing thing that I have to show for it because I was too afraid to jump and give it a shot.
Right.
And so the fear of me having that regret, or worse, having the fire for me to go out and do something and make a difference, that possibly dying just because I didn't act on it, that was enough to fire me up and be like, you know what, I would rather jump out, try, fall flat on my face and fail than wake up in 10, 20 years and just either regret that I didn't do it or not even care that I didn't. And so it fired me up to jump in and just start creating the life that I want to live.
And then, so when this is so very interesting, that one part you said was that, you're not getting any younger, but in fact, the journey I've been seeing, you have been getting younger, my friend.
It kind of looks that way. That's what some people have said. They're like, how you actually look younger now than you did 3 years ago.
100%.
I don't know. Maybe you just look lighter physically and literally in my case. When you do the thing, when you're leaning into what it feels like you're supposed to do.
Sure. So tell me when this happened. So it's like the match that happened, and so Lit You on Fire finally happened. And who were these people who inspired you during that time? Was there any videos you were watching, books you were reading, somebody in the family?
A lot of books.
Okay.
So I had internal inspiration for a long time. Like I wanted to, ever since I was 15, I wanted to be a millionaire.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure where that came from. But one thing that definitely helped is when I was like 22, 23, my last year in college, I started reading books. And that's insane that you're like, when you were 23, yeah, I didn't start reading anything outside of like religious scripture or anything like that.
Sure.
Before I was like 22, 23. And that opened up my mind to so many possibilities of that you can actually create the life. And like, it's just insane that you can get somebody that has 20, 25 years of experience and then distill down all their information down to like 2 to 7 hours with an audiobook. It was just crazy. And I was reading a lot avidly up to that point. So that was a big mindset thing. When I was really in it and going after it, somebody that helped me through the transition with mindset and still does is somebody that you and I both know, Gary Vaynerchuk.
100%.
Yeah. Like just because he's one thing that I feel like I know in a deeper way that I wouldn't have had before, and probably more than most people, is what he's saying is the freaking truth, because I've tested it and I've been using it while I'm in the game, not just sitting on the sidelines saying, oh, that sounds like it's cool and motivational. No, it's if you think it's useful, then like if it fires you up at your job, like imagine like being in it, being scared out of your freaking mind, going after something and then listening to it. So he definitely has had an impact then and continues to have an impact.
Lovely. I love the guy too, man. And my kids can't get over the fact that the father has another superhero that he's crazy about.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a cool dude.
Okay, so you know what? So everybody, before they get into a journey, and while they're on that journey, while they're facing ups and downs, there's one thing that I've seen that keeps a lot of people on track is a ritual.
Mm-hmm.
So do you are you making any such rituals which are
totally? If I didn't have rituals, I would be screwed. So a few of them actually. That's honestly one of the reasons, and I picked this up on an interview somebody did for me last week, that I realized that was one of the things I got so serious about my health, because it was something I could control.
Right.
Because when you jump into entrepreneurship or you jump into creating this life that you want, it feels so turbulent, as you know.
Right.
There's so much ups and downs, and I needed some control. And I needed something that I felt like I could impact. Yes, of course, we ultimately impact our reality. Like millionaires are millionaires not by accident, because they are. Billionaires are billionaires not by accident, because they are. And if you're overweight or whatever your reality is, you create that. But it's hard to – sometimes it's so gradual. But with health, it's something I could say, did I work out today and do those things? So several rituals. Exercise is definitely one. A big focus for 2018 is flexibility. So I've kind of shifted from running to doing yoga of that nature. A ritual that I picked up by necessity, also not for nicety, is meditation. I try to get meditation in every single day, because when I left my safe, comfortable bubble and moved to Southern California, I did door-to-door sales.
Okay.
To like stretch my comfort zone a bit. And there was a lot of mind chatter. It was,
100%.
yeah, a lot. Like it was really easy to like fall off the track, and meditation really helped with that. So meditation, exercise, I journal often.
Mhm.
I've been journaling every day for like 13 years. And
I believe you use something like this.
I do have that. Before the internet was even huge, like I literally have been journaling almost every day since I was 17.
Nice.
So the thing that I journal mostly on is literally just my laptop or my computer, just because I can type faster than I can write with my hand, and it's
Right.
easier to like last night I was up super late till like 1:30, 2 a.m. But it was just easy to like jump on my laptop, write something out for like 2 or 3 minutes to get a snapshot of what the day was, and then I can go to bed. So I do it on my laptop. And then some other rituals that I'm practicing right now are just other healthy things like intermittent fasting. So I intermittent fast every day, and then do a little bit of I'm actually doing a 2-day fast once a week right now, just to play with that. So some
So
other
only
those
water?
rituals. What's that?
Only water?
Water and black coffee.
Wow, that's a lot of determination, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kudos to you for doing all of that, man. And I'm seeing, like I said, we're seeing the change, and people can feel that there's somebody coming on the scene very strong.
Man, you're making the hair stand up because I'm ready for it.
I know. I can make out. I can 100% make out. Okay, so you obviously had like you said, you were reading religious scriptures. You came from a family background, so you had some bonding at home. You had the right values at home and all of that, and then you realized that I have everything else, but for me to go to that next level, you always wanted to be a millionaire. You thought you need to change the gear a bit, and you did. You made a few changes, and you had a few people inspiring you along the way. You followed what they said, right practices, and you got right into the game. Now, when you got into the game, you came up with your ebook. You came up with your. I love the logo of Curious with Calvin. I just love it. I just love the way it's. Like I'm telling you, I've become an instant fan of what you're doing, because what you're doing is you're going out there and making big promises and following through, and we can see it every day on Facebook. So I'm loving that. So tell us about what you did to get into the entrepreneurship game, especially in the online format. Like what all did you do online to get there?
So it was a process. When I was in Southern California doing door-to-door, I was trying to find what my thing was. And I knew, like, I had the problem that I think 98% of people have. And I thought it was just me at the time. But in conversations with other people, I've learned that there's so much this way, and that is I knew what I wanted, kind of.
Right.
But did not know my freaking passion. Like, it pissed me off whenever I would see somebody that said they knew their passion ever since they were 5 years old. I was like, I'm 27 and I don't know what my passion is. There could be people listening to this that are 37. They're like, what's my passion? And so I didn't know what it was. And so I went through this process of like trying to figure it out. And so I just started guessing and playing with it. And I knew that whatever I wanted to do something that couldn't have been done like 5 or 10 years ago.
Right.
Meaning I knew that I liked stuff that's on the front lines. I like that's exciting to me, figuring it out. And the thing that I fell into in August 2015 was Periscope, the live streaming app. You're familiar with it?
Oh, yeah.
That was my first little pop of doing anything that was my own thing for the first time in my entire life. So I really got into Periscope because it was the hot technology at the time. It was before Facebook Live, and live streaming was new. The only other app was something called Meerkat, that you'll know.
Sure.
And I got on Periscope, and I Periscoped every single day, 3 times a day, just figured it out, plus watched other people, what they were doing. And I ended up saying, you know what, I'm just going to help people that are 1 or 2 steps behind me. So I got in Periscope and figured it out. Then I did little things on my Facebook or things to show other people about Periscope. And then I was like, now I'm going to see if I can make my first $1. Then I created a little course on how to get people to your email list. First, I figured out how you can actually use Periscope to grow your email list. I used Periscope to get my first ever email opt-ins ever, just talking about stuff and then giving them something free. Like I created this little guide called, it was a 3-day scope challenge where getting people outside of their comfort zone to actually scope, because 90% of the people on Periscope were just viewing, not actually going live. And so that was to get people out of their comfort zone. I got a few people opting on an email list, and I was like, that's cool. So that I'm entering that game. And then I created a $7 course to show people how to get people to opt in. And then from there, I created like a $250 course on all of Periscope.
Nice.
And that was my in. That was my first into doing something on my own and doing something with the internet. And then it transitioned. So that was August 2015. And by January, it was before this, but by January for sure, Facebook, Big Brother had come onto the scene. And they came up with this thing called Facebook Live. So things started to shift in Periscope. And so the attention I had wasn't there, but interestingly, I was not sad. And this is something that I resonate with with Gary Vee. I realized it wasn't the platform I was in love with. I wasn't romantic about the platform. I loved newer technology, and it was just shifting. The puck was moving from that to Facebook. So I moved with that puck. And then I went a little bit deeper. I asked myself, why do I like this stuff? Why did I get so excited over Periscope? Why am I excited over Facebook Live? And I realized I'm excited over new things in general, things that weren't available before. And so I ended up realizing I like social media. By being in the game, taking action, I realized that's what I enjoyed. And so I went all in on my own social media, and which was a big deal for me because I was so shy before. I didn't even have a profile picture of myself for the longest times. I know. Most people wouldn't believe this. I had a picture of Calvin of the comic. It's a comic strip, Calvin and Hobbes, for like 3 years, and was just super awkward, super shy. Did not want to put it up there, but started doing that with my own brand. And then in January 2016, that's when I started my social media management agency.
Nice.
Sounds really big, but it was a decision. I didn't buy a multi-billion-dollar company. I literally just said, "Oh, I'm a social media manager," and then told people that and got my first client.
Oh, nice.
And they
this
paid
was 2016.
me. Yeah, 2016, and got my first ever paying client. That's also when I started my millionaire case study, which is like a YouTube show of me documenting this journey from zero to my first million. And yeah, that got me in. And so I've still been in that game, still in the social media space, doing a little bit more with like speaking in my book and a little bit of business coaching, but social media management has been the biggest thing still, I would say.
Excellent. So what do you do? So now, so great. I like the fact that you self-introspect and speak to yourself, and you seem to be big on self-awareness again. Now, tell me now that every stage unfolds a new challenge in life. Now, there's so much information. Yesterday I was watching Steve Dotto on an interview, and he said that he's speaking at the SMMW, and he said, but right now I'm changing my presentation because everything is about Facebook and YouTube has changed. So I'm changing my presentation as we speak. So that's how fast this industry is evolving. We cannot have one signature talk or one signature book and say we're going to crush it for the rest of our lives. So you are aware of the fact that you're in a very dynamic industry. So what do you do to stay in touch?
Do it.
Stay connected. Okay.
Do it. Again, that's probably Gary Vee influencing me.
Sure.
I would like to consider myself a real practitioner using his word. I'm in it. So I feel like I'm a little bit ahead of the curve there. I like when it changes. Right. When things change, that is awesome for me because that means it's going to shake off other people that thought they could have one signature talk or one signature book and be good. Right. And it gives me a blue ocean instead of so much competition. So it's not that I'm like even jiving with a bad thing. I prefer that. And at the same time, kind of the opposite of that is I look for principles in things in changing worlds.
Right.
Similar to like how I needed to have an anchor with my body. I think there are principles that will never change. And I try to get really clear on that. For example, one thing that I shifted in my business or even from the very beginning, is most of my things, I don't do Facebook ads.
Uh-huh.
Now, why don't I do Facebook ads? I have a lot of really genius friends that do Facebook ads, but I personally don't do that as a company. Why? Because it changes quite a bit. So my thing is more of creating organic content that tells people's story.
Right.
Because that's something that's a little bit more steady. And then I've uncovered principles that work no matter what. For example, no matter what platform, whether it's video, photos, whatever's hot, you need to have content that tells your story. It needs to be done in the right context of the platform you're on. You need to be consistent, and you need to find some way to build connection with the audience so that you can have community and create conversation. Like, those things will never change. And if you don't get so caught up in all of the like tweaks of the algorithm that
Right.
Facebook just did with the page, I think it's easy. Like, I don't know what the heck happened, but when Facebook just made this change and people's pages shut off, mine has gone up. I don't know why.
That's amazing.
So I'm not too worried about any changes. And again, I prefer it because that's a new conversation to be had at the water cooler.
Uh-huh.
And by the water cooler, I either mean like talking somebody like this, or at
Sure.
social media marketing world,
Right.
when people are going to be there in San Diego, like talking about the new things. It's exciting to me. So yeah, I like it.
100%. So when you like, so coming back to the fact that you launched your book, and I saw you with your book in your hand at Mike Coheney's office, I think his studio we met last year. And so how long did you take to? So you knew that to get into the game. Oh, there you go, fish out of water. Nice.
Yeah.
So you knew that to get into the game, you need to speak a bit, you need to get your message out, you need to come up with a book. Just there's some credibility factors that you need. So what were can you tell us something about, there were some apps that you used? What are the sort of hacks that you used to get everything done super fast and get out there and say,
it did not feel fast.
Okay.
It's so weird. I talk about this now because it's crazy that it has not even been 3 years since I was sitting in cubicle hating my life. That's insane when I look at it now, because it's so easy to say 3 years. But 3 years is also like, what is that? More than 1,000 days.
Right.
Every day is a grind. Like last week, I got so much done, but nothing accomplished, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I know exactly what you say.
Like it was really awesome progress. I made a post on Saturday because I realized, wow, there's not any major tick mark, but man, did I make progress on stuff. So this is a tough question because it didn't happen so fast, but there are some things like for my book, for example, I'm actually running a private online group right now to help people get their book done, because I did get it done fairly fast. I wrote it in a month and a half from starting to write it to publish on Amazon. It was a month and a half. So there's some practical things that help me with that. Number one is something that I call now a Puke Athon. Mm-hmm. A Puke Athon is where you block out 48 hours where you lock yourself in your office for 48 hours. Sleep in there if you must.
Right.
If you can make somebody bring you your meals, awesome. Like the world will still be there, your responsibilities will still be there, but block yourself in there for 48 hours. Get rid of this thing. All distractions are gone, and force yourself to face yourself and get your book started. So that was a big thing to launch my book, is putting myself in an office for 2 days. And
without the phone, that's tough.
With no distraction whatsoever. It is tough. It was very much, dude, the whole process of writing my book was so freaking interesting. It was one of the most agonizing, amazing things all at once, that I've ever done. I can't wait to write another book just to go through that process, because you face yourself like you have to quiet your mind down and organize your thoughts that are just swimming, so that you can put it in a format that people can actually get and understand. So it was super interesting. But one other tip, if there's anybody listening to that wants to write a book, let me get a piece of technology actually while we're talking about this. One piece of technology that helped me on that Puke-a-thon day was this right here.
I like that.
It's Post-it notes. I'm dead serious with this. Let me tell you what I mean. I actually still have some. These are some of the old Post-it notes on here. So literally what I did, this is why I call it a Puke-a-thon. So many people try to make it perfect at once. You have to puke your book out of you first.
Right.
Like what I mean is like, just get it out of your head as crazy as you can. And I tried a lot of ways to get it out. I tried audio recording. I tried typing it. I tried structuring it in an outline. This is what helped me the most. And it's helped a lot of other people that I've shared this method with. And I'm doing it with a small group right now that are in the process, and they're loving it too. And what it is on the Puke Athon is when you're in there for their 48 hours, the first thing you should do before you start writing is any idea you have, any main idea that you think should relate to your book, write it on a Post-it note and stick it to the wall.
Okay.
Write it on another Post-it note, stick it to the wall. And just fill up your wall with Post-it notes. This is what I did to write my book. So any main idea, I stuck it up there. And then when I thought I was exhausted of ideas, then I looked at the Post-it notes, and it would trigger another idea. I would write it down and stick it to the wall. Then I could do something cool. Since it was Post-it notes, I was like, I'm going to organize this. Oh, this is related to this. And then I would put the ideas together. And then having the ideas together, it triggered other ideas. So I was like, oh, put that up, wrote it on a Post-it note and stuck it to the wall. And then I realized there were some things on those Post-it notes that weren't related to my book at all. They're probably a whole nother book. So I just took them off. Before I knew it, I had sections of ideas that were all related to fish out of water. That was my book right then. My book is in 3 sections, and it came from 3 piles of Post-it notes that were 3 core ideas. And that is what kicked off and why the book got done in a month and a half, is just blocking myself in there, getting it out of me. Then the writing part became easy because I could look at something that said on the Post-it note, like done's better than perfect. That was a key idea. So then I could oh, cool, I'm going to go talk about that. Take the Post-it note. I could even stick it on my laptop and talk about the concept done's better than perfect, and just keep doing that. And it made the writing just flow. So that's a process that helps.
No, but 100% helps. That's quite a process. And you said you were homeschooled for this, so it's just basically coming out from you. Nice. Yeah. So tell us, so the book, a little bit of speaking, getting out there on Facebook. What else would you recommend to aspiring social media entrepreneurs or any entrepreneur who wants to get his message out there and be heard? So you said very simple things. You've not spent $1 million to create a brand. You've not hired a PR agency. You've not spent
my book took, this is another one that blows people's mind. I did a Facebook Live on this, and so I know people go insane. If people got to guess how much this cost to produce, I was like, what do you think it costs to put up to get your first book? People said $500, $5,000, $15,000. This book that has at this point made me pretty good money, not just in book sales, but in opening doors for other things and to getting speaking gigs and things like that, cost grand total of $21.
No way. I've never heard that before. How did that happen?
You can create your own book essentially for free. The only thing that I paid is I literally hired somebody on Fiverr to help me design this logo.
Right.
That's this whole cover, this whole front cover is literally the only thing that I paid. And I paid $21 instead of $5 because I wanted unlimited revisions.
Right.
And that is where it came from. And so other than that, you can write your own book. You can upload it to Amazon's Create Space for free. Like, most people don't know this. Like, it's insane. And as you know, being in this space, you're right. It's good to have it for branding, because if there's 2 people standing side by side and one of them's an author, you're going to automatically just assume that that guy knows more what he's talking about and is more reputable because he has a book. So if you want to, and I had a mix. I wanted the reputation, but I also had this need to get this book out of me. It has nothing to do with social media, by the way, which most people would advise against. Your book should be about the thing you wanted, but it was fish out of water because that was just a message I needed to get out. But yeah, if you want to, it's a thing to it's way easier than people realize.
Lovely. Tell us how was the journey, or tell us, so people who are listening to this show, tell them how, if they are wanting to do, follow in your footsteps, what would be the first few easy steps? I know there's nothing called easy.
No. I understand the question. And it kind of is easy. And it's not following exactly me because everybody's different. Like you mentioned, self-awareness, knowing what you want. I think what will help is a mindset. Something that I've learned. And probably the hardest thing to learn is a little bit of faith and a little bit of trust. And faith and trust is actually, I'm not even talking about faith in the process or trust in a higher being, which is awesome too. I'm talking about a little bit of faith and a little bit of trust
in yourself.
In you.
Nice.
And this is why you need it. This is why you need it. In the beginning, you were not going to have all the answers. You're not going to know exactly either what you want or how to get what you want. It's going to be fuzzy and it's going to be confusing. So this is what I want to offer you. Most people want to stay on the sidelines until they get given all the steps to get to where it is they want to go. I was this way. In my day job, I was going to have a side hustle, and as soon as it got to a certain point, then I would have quit. And then, like, I had all these contingencies that needed to happen for me to get to where I wanted to go, but it never actually happened until I just took action on it. And what I realized is you don't need everything laid out from A through Z.
It almost never happens. Sure.
It almost never happens. You only need to know the 3 letters of the alphabet, not 26. And this is what I mean. There's A, there's B, and then there's Z. Z is where you want to end up, at least generally. Do you want to have an internet business? Awesome. Do you want to be an entrepreneur? Awesome. Do you want to be a millionaire? Awesome. Do you want to be a YouTube personality? Awesome. Do you want to be a creator? Awesome. Do you want to be doing what you want and not work for somebody else? Awesome. Like, kind of get an idea of what that is. A is where you are now in relation to that. And B is just the next step.
Mm-hmm.
Know that is all you need.
Right.
That is all you will ever need. That is scary, because before you're like, oh, that's simple. Well, what that looked like for me is I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew I was working at a day job. So what was the next step? Quit. What am I going to do for money? I have a wife. I didn't know. What if I don't have any money for rent or win up on the street? Possible. I didn't know. So as I was saying, you don't need to know all the steps to get to where it is that you want to go. You don't need to know A all the way through Z. All you got to know is, where do you want to go? Even if you just have a general idea, where am I now in relation to that? And take the next step. Even if the next step is a guess. You keep doing that, that's all you need. And to me, that's where you'll grow, that's where you'll progress, and that's how you'll make it happen.
Lovely, lovely. I love that. Tell me, you know what? All of us entrepreneurs have days, dark days, if I can call them.
100%.
Right? What do you? Because you seem like somebody who's so charged up all the time. So it's difficult
I
to
get
imagine you being down. But what do you do when you're down?
Happens all the time, because you know it has to happen, right? Like this is actually one of the reasons I love that I have a podcast, and I love that I have my YouTube show, Millionaire Case Study, because I think most people don't, at least getting started, it's easy to look at people like me now or other people like Gary Vaynerchuk and think that they're always on.
Right.
And maybe he is, but
I know that guy. You can never say anything about him. You never know. Yeah.
But the problem with that thinking, when you don't understand it, is when you hit into your wall, it's easy to think there must be something wrong with me. I can't get to where they are because I'm not like that. No, we're all freaking human beings. We have our down days. So there's a few things that help with me when I hit my down days. One of the things that helps more than anything, that, like, just said simply, the thing that will make you more happy than anything, like no matter where you're at, is a perspective shift. Mm-hmm. So I am huge on perspective shifting. People talk about like state shifting, like changing it to a new state. All that's good. But if you can shift your perspective, then your entire outlook will change. You could be happier. So what's perspective shifting? There's different ways to change your perspective. Oftentimes, you first need to understand that you got to like create some space for yourself and realize it's not this thing that's pissing you off or that's making you feel down. It is your story that you're having around it, or the way you're viewing that thing.
Right.
Which is kind of crazy, because when somebody's like, no, I literally just lost $15,000 in debt, or I just lost $15,000 in my bank account that I thought I had because 3 clients canceled. That's the problem. That's why I'm depressed. It's like, you can't tell me that it's just perspective. Shut the fuck up, Calvin. By the way, that fake example I just gave was a real example for me.
Is that right?
There was a time in my journey where I had 3 clients cancel in a December 2015, where I had $15,000 that I had in my bank account that I owed back. And it was really easy to get down. Believe me, super easy to get down. But things that help me perspective shift is, number one, what am I grateful for? So this is weird. It's like some of these like fluffy things like gratitude become these tools for very practical things. So I will write down like on a list of paper all the things I'm grateful for. And I won't just say I'm grateful, I'll say thank you to those things. Like the smallest little things. I will say thank you that I am on this computer right now. Like right now, for those people that probably didn't even notice in the audio or the video, my computer crashed like 15 minutes ago or whatever. And we're back online. It has never crashed. It'd be easy to be pissed, but then I could be like, thank you that I even get to be on this computer. Thank you that Avi like saw something enough to even interview me to get my message out. Like there's so many more things to be grateful for than to be pissed about. You know?
I love your positivity, man. I remember, and it's there for real, because when we were getting the show started, we were supposed to start at 9:30, and about 9:26, I sent you a message saying I'm taking another few minutes to get set up, and you sent me an instant message saying, "No worries, take your time." You know what? How many people do that? Almost nobody. People are just so wired up and so tight about everything that they just it's like there's no room for error. There's no room for being human anymore. So
here's another thing that helps me shift my perspective that I don't think people would really recommend, but I do it. And so I just want to share it, because a lot of people, I think, since you mentioned the word positivity, like don't be negative, for whatever reason, this helps. When I get really low, one thing that helps me like crazy is I write. Like something I also do is like a brain dump. Like if I start feeling overwhelmed, I write down everything that I feel like I need to do. Like I will fill like every single line on like 2 notebook pages of things that I feel like I need to do right now that I'm already late on that need to happen this week. Right. As an entrepreneur, we get so busy. So that helps. But one thing I also do is when I'm really doing introspective stuff and I'm thinking life sucks, I will literally write out on a piece of paper all the reasons why life sucks. I will write down all the reasons I hate myself and why I think I'm an asshole or why I'm not worthy or am I a fraud. Really? Like, I will really write out all the negative stuff. I haven't done this very often, but I've done it a few times, and it's helped me like crazy. And this is why I think it's helped. It's got it out of my head and onto paper, and now I can like analyze it and be like, that's not true. When I look at some of the stuff now that I wrote, like whenever I've done this, it's kind of laughable. No wonder I felt like shit, if that's really what I was thinking. It's stuff that's just bullshit that's not true.
Right.
But I think if you give yourself the freedom, instead of just trying to resist and say, I should be positive, I shouldn't have this negativity. Yeah. Well, if you're feeling negative, honor that. Like, be with that. Don't resist it and just say, oh, I shouldn't be thinking bad. Write it out. Like, get it out of your system.
That's very powerful. And so I like that.
I don't know if I haven't really heard that advice from anyone else that they should do it, but it's something that I've used and it's helped.
No, because Calvin, it is so difficult to face that mirror, which is you yourself. To talk to yourself in the mirror, which is what you're doing by writing down stuff. To face your own deepest, darkest thoughts is just such an uncomfortable feeling that we go through life never wanting to do that.
Yes.
One of the big things that I do in all my talks is, so my talks are divided into 6-7 chapters, and one chapter is staying close to the router. And I always say router is your family. So staying closer to the family sometimes is not for them, it's for yourself, because we're all devices. The router is the family. The closer you are to the family, you're able to, you get more bars for your internet. You're able to download more information about yourself. But the thing is we sometimes avoid the people who we are closest to because they know us the most. They call us out on our bullshit, and we hate doing that. So what I'm gathering from this interview with you is that you have the guts to time and again self-introspect. And I'm saying that again, you have the guts to self-introspect, because that is not something easy at all.
It's not, but it's just a trade-off from having that uncomfortable moment and feeling now so that you can grow. Because I'm in it for the long game.
Sure.
Again, we've mentioned Gary Vee a few times in this interview, and maybe that's where it comes from. I don't know.
Right.
Probably. But I'm just really committed to like facing short-term discomfort if that's what's going to help me grow in the long term, and that's something that certainly will.
Excellent. Calvin, so you know what, for people who want to reach out to you, what's the best way? I think, and I'm going to put your logos of your Curious Calvin all over the place. I love the logo. I love what you're doing with it. It's so much fun, but it's actually a lot of fun to watch that, you know, the way it's coming up. So tell me, where can people find you, and your email, your podcast? Just tell us about it.
Two things. My email is calvinwayman@gmail.com. That's my personal email. If you're on social media like Facebook, Instagram, or Snapchat, you can just find me by searching Calvin Wayman. If you're like Twitter, like I like doing a little bit of conversation on Twitter, so you can find me by searching Calvin Wayman there. Or if you want to listen to the podcast and subscribe, then you can get to it just by going to calvinwayman.com/podcast.
That sounds lovely. And you know what? The energy that you have, the happiness that I'm feeling by interviewing you, and when your brand, you just seem like somebody who's so self-aware. Like I said, it's a very difficult thing to do. It's almost impossible to do. A lot of people talk about it, but I know if they're not doing it. You seem to be actually doing it. You have rituals and tools around it. So I don't think we're done yet. I think we need to call you back for another interview, because
I would love to.
That we need to learn from you.
I'm an evolving human being, so I'm sure I'll be a different version of myself in 3 months. So I'd be totally down to connect later, or I'll see you at Social Media Marketing World. I'm sure we'll bump into each other.
100%.
So, yeah.
Calvin Wayman, thank you so much for your time.
Brother, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Take care.
See you.
Thank you, Calvin. You have made me want to see you in another episode of the Internet Mogul Show. Thank you for everything that you said, everything that you made us feel, and everything that you do in your everyday life. I look forward to seeing you once again. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the Internet Mogul Show.